All right, Shalom, this is Gamali Allen, Great Millstone, Atlanta. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHSHAM, BAHSHAM, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the Akim, pushing out this truth and sincerity. It's a quick lesson, and this is going to be dealing with, it's going to be entitled, Big Brother is Still at It. And let's go into what Big Brother is. Let's see. It's like Big Brother. Let's see. Big Brother refers to an invasive authoritarian state that exercises total control over citizens' lives, behaviors, and thoughts through constant surveillance and strict monitoring. Originating from George Orwell's novel 1984, it represents an omniscient authority, often depicting with the slogan, Big Brother is watching you, that destroys privacy and individual freedom. All right. Key aspect of Big Brother surveillance, utilizing technology such as CCTV cameras, totalitarian control, suppression of independent thought, personal freedom and action, where opposition is deemed treasonous, propaganda, information control, privacy intrusion. Yeah, so that this is what Esau is all about. All right, because he wants to herd and corral the people, you know, into basically into his new world order, you know. And the reason why he wants control is because it keeps him in his eyes, it keeps him safe, you know. In his eyes, he feels like keeping people under control, and at bay, if you will. Okay, it's gonna allow him to, you know, it's gonna basically allow him to continue remain at the top, and remain untouched. Okay, if you keep the people docile, you keep them watched, then you'll be able to tame the wild. You'll be able to tame these wild animals, and like I said, in Esau's eyes. So this is a post, all right, and it's off of it's a post on Rich Rap or whatever platform this is, but it says every new car in the U.S. will be required by law to have tech that puts constant surveillance on the driver by 2027. All right, it says a U.S. law passed through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires automakers to develop advanced driver monitoring systems aimed at reducing impaired driving, with a target rollout around 2026-2027. These systems may use cameras, sensors, or other technology to track driver behavior such as eye movement, attention, or signs of intoxication or drowsiness. In some cases, the technology could prevent a vehicle from operating if it detects that the driver is not fit to drive, making it a major step toward improving road safety and reducing accidents caused by impairment. However, the viral claim that every car will have constant surveillance is exaggerated. The law does not mandate continuous recording, government tracking, or real-time monitoring of drivers beyond safety purposes. Instead, the focus is strictly on preventing dangerous driving situations and and the exact implementation is still being tested and refined. There are also concerns about accuracy and reliability, which have delayed full deployment, making the final systems meaning the final systems may vary and won't necessarily function as invasive always on surveillance tools as some claims suggest. So yeah, basically this is technology, and they're claiming that they're saying, oh, it's just for safety purposes, it's not for government surveillance, it's not going to be always on. But I mean, how do we know that? You know what I mean? You don't know who's on the other side of the camera. You don't know who's on the other on the other side of the screen, because it's AI. No, we don't know that. Us as the consumers, we don't know what you devils are always up to. Matter of fact, let me start with this. Start with this. This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So this is a device of Esau, which is the devil, which is the so-called white man in the Bible. All right, but this is a device that he came up with, okay, that he can definitely abuse. Like I said, okay, yeah, maybe what they're saying could be the case, okay, but look at how many other ways. Okay, maybe they're not spying on you through your car, but look at how many other ways they're spying on you through. Because I believe there's reports. Some people said they spy on, they're being spied on through their TV. Then there's ways, what you call it, Amazon. I think one of them, was it Amazon. I believe it was like Amazon. What's that? Alexa. Alexa got sued because it was one of them tech companies got sued because, and they got a big lawsuit, and they admitted that they basically admitted they had to pay a whole bunch of money because it was proven that they were spying on people. They was listening. The devices were listening. Okay, so this is a real thing. This is not something that's made up. This is not something that, and then I guarantee they said the same thing. I guarantee they said the same thing. Oh no, use it for that. We just use it for these purposes, that purposes. So you can never just trust. You just can never trust the devil, man. Reasons why you can just never trust this devil. Sirach 12:10, it says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Yeah, so you can't trust your enemy, Esau being our enemy. Whenever he comes up with new ideas and inventions, you gotta come at it with skepticism. You gotta lay on the side of skepticism and be like, no, I don't know about that. If you read the comments, people are criticizing it heavily because they're not with it. And everybody's saying the same thing. Nah, because they're under the impression that it's always going to be recording and listening to you. And it more than likely it probably will. Just like your other devices. There's been times, and I'm sure there's plenty of brothers that can attest to this, but there's times where you'll have regular conversation, out and open, with phones around or whatever, or any type of devices around, and then you look on your phone maybe and maybe a few hours later or the next day, or within that same time frame, you see whatever you spoke about, it kind of pops up, whether it be on social media or an advertisement or whatever it is. And it's like, you can't make that up, because it happens like that. So yeah, this devil's very sneaky. He's sneaky. All right, so let's go. Let's get let me get this. Job 9, 20 and 19, because he hath oppressed and forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away an house which he builded not. Yeah, so he oppressed the poor. That's one way he oppresses the poor, is by surveillance. You don't have any liberties, you don't have any freedom. Everyone's poor compared to Esau because you don't have as much. So let me put it this way: is Esau being spied on? He's not being spied on, because how does he get around? Number one, he gets around through private drivers and what do you call it? Helicopters and shuttles. They don't even, a lot of these elites, they got the type of money, they don't even really touch the ground. They're not sitting in traffic. You know what I mean? They're not sitting in traffic and sitting at stoplights, man. These elites, they ain't doing that, man. They, if anything, they getting police escorts. They getting, all the above. Here's another one that says, Psalms 12 and 55, for the oppression of the poor. Let's see, hold on. I'll start at 3. The Lord shall cut off all flattering lips and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who's the proud? That's Esau. It says, who have said with our tongue will we prevail. Our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? Yeah, so that's the spirit Esau's in. And also surveillance is also him trying to be like God. I think that's in Isaiah, where it says, I will be like the Most High. So that's one way that he tries to play God, is through being omnipotent, which omnipotent means to be omnipresent, which omnipresent means to be basically everywhere at once. So that's one way he tries to do. He tries to play God by being omnipresent, having surveillance, having cameras everywhere. It says, who have said with our tongue, it says, verse 5, for the oppression of the poor, for the sighing of the needy. Now will I arise, saith the Lord, I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. Yeah, so that's, the Lord's going to deliver the elect of Israel, from this devil, man. Because we're known as the poor, the meek of the earth, so the sighing of the needy. So yeah, we're sighing, man, because we're tired of, having our liberty spied on, and tired of the pollution, tired of this devil, just doing whatever the hell he wants. He's got to be put out of his rulership. So that's pretty much it. Lord, will you ratify, giving all praise, honor, glory to YAHAWAH, BAHSHAM, BAHSHAM, Rakakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone. Shalom.